I want to know, can the 1060 3GB version stack up to today's standards? Let's find out. Hey guys, what's going on? This is Kyle Nichols from Upbeat Media here, and in this video we're going to be discussing if the 1060 graphics card from Nvidia from 2016 can really stack up to today's standards in current gen graphic cards. Now, the first thing that I gotta say is this. The GTX 1060 graphic card in general, whether that's a 3 or 6GB model, is actually #1 on Steam's hardware and software survey for August of 2021 at 10.46% of the entire market on Steam. Now that's one thing that I feel like is very general, because the 1060 had a lot of reputation when it first came out almost 5 years ago. Probably by now about 5 years, since it was 2016 in August, but hey. We're only talking a graphic card that's 5 years old. It still kicks as well as you would think it would. I've had it from my computer and I have no complaints because I built my own computer with a Ryzen 5 2400G with the graphic card, the 1060, 3GB model. Now it's not as great as the 6GB model per se, but it still does the job. It still plays games as great as you could ever expect. It has the ability to do video editing with the NVEC encoder. It also allows you to process really anything faster than just a processor. Now, I'm not saying that I am totally reverting away from the 1060. I'm not, because I currently still have it. Recently, there has been some graphic cards that have come out, like the RX 6600 XT that came out on the 11th of August. Now, with that graphic card, that was a doozy, let's be honest. It was a very big doozy, and this is because of the fact is the only way to really get it without scalpers or people trying to buy it in super inflated prices is the Newegg Shuffle. Now the Newegg Shuffle allows you to input your email address as long as you were a registered user, and if you were put into a lottery and you were picked, they would send you an email and you would have like a day or two to purchase the device. But the thing is though, is that for me, I stuck with the 1060 because the RX 6600 XT from AMD, yeah, it can do 1080p gaming, but the thing is though, is right now that graphic card market is not the place to buy anything right now. Since this whole pandemic started, graphic card prices, computer components, chips for vehicles, etc., all of these things have literally gone up in price. You're looking at 2 or 3 times or maybe even 4 times the price that it would normally be for that type of device or chip. And in my eyes, it's never a good time to buy a graphic card if the prices are inflated. There's shortages, they're selling out everywhere. People are buying them to do Bitcoin, or get Bitcoin rather, I should say. And to me, that's kind of not where graphic cards should be market-wise. People are wanting to use them like the RTX series, for example, like the RTX 2060, the RTX 3060. All of these have these ray tracing abilities, just like the RX 6600 XT does. But let's be honest, from my point, I really don't feel like there's a need for it now. And I don't think there will be a need for it ever. The reason for that is because, don't get me wrong, the ray tracing abilities on these graphic cards is amazing. It makes things look super photorealistic, but in my opinion, I feel like if you have just a small monitor or a 4K monitor, I don't really see much of a difference in quality versus size difference. And that's because the size difference between like a 55 or a 65 4K TV versus like a 24 or 27 inch monitor. On the smaller monitor, you're not gonna really see much of a difference unless it's HDR or like Apple has the XDR displays for like $700 or $1,000, which is utterly ridiculous. I wouldn't get myself one of those, even if I had the money to do that, because that's just way too much for a small monitor. You're better off getting a TV at that point. But when it comes to the 1060 3GB or 6GB graphic card, I'd say it's still in the running to be a good graphic card, because I mean, if you have over 10% of the majority of Steam users, and there are probably millions upon millions of Steam users that are currently using the platform for gaming purposes specifically, and that's a lot. 10.46% is a very big number, especially since it comes down to what's the most popular. And based upon that information, as of the date of this recording, 10.46% is the highest for the GTX 1060 at this time, whether that be the 3% or if it's the 6%. And either one, I would say, is a very good option if you're looking to be on a budget, because when it first came out in 2016, according to some sources that I came across in researching for this video, it only retailed for $199.99. But if there is any corrections, I will definitely put them in this video regarding that price, because when I purchased it, it was definitely not that price point. It was probably about $200 or $300 at that time. So maybe there was an inflation when I paid for it, or if the price that I found was inaccurate. But either way, it's a very low budget graphic card, but due to all this mining that is going on, Bitcoin mining, Ethereum, etc., and all these other cryptocurrencies, if you will, are going on, all graphic cards are probably still going to be very highly inflated in price, unfortunately. But there's another option that you would have, and that is, according to Paul's Hardware, another YouTuber that I follow, he's been kind of going against the graphic card PC builds lately. So if you wanted to build a PC without a graphic card, you can definitely go through with either the 10th generation Intel processors with integrated graphics, or you could even do the Ryzen 5000 series, which some of those have had very high quality just with the processor, no graphic card. You would have your RAM, obviously, with the CPU and the cooling, and you'd be fine. Now, when it comes to video editing, the 1060 3GB that I currently have, it has been pretty good. I haven't yet tried either 4K or any higher quality editing, but it does do the job for 1080p very well. I wouldn't say it's something that I will keep continuing to use over the next 5 or so years, because at this point the graphic card is ending its life cycle, I feel like. And the reason why I say that is because both Nvidia and AMD are trying to release these new graphic cards that are going to be replacing the 1060 3 or 6GB models that are currently available in the market today. Now, with that, the one thing that I feel like is a recommendation to make is, if you want to use this for minimal gaming, having presets at medium, and maybe, if you're lucky, some on high, it's going to run very hot. I've had temperatures of between 80 and 90 degrees Celsius that I've not been comfortable with, because I want to stay within 70 to 80, because that's a lot more comfortable for me, because I don't want my computer running super hot and causing any type of issues with loading or bottlenecks of any kind. But also what comes into that is the specs that you currently have. Now, I've researched for the 2400G and the GTX 1060 3GB that I have, and seeing if it is compatible and there's no bottlenecks. It has less than 1% bottleneck chance, so that's always good to hear. So it would be recommended to go on Google or whichever search engine you use and see if the graphic card and processors that you have would have any issues with bottlenecking of any kind, because then you're not using the full capabilities of those two pieces of hardware in your computer. Now, the main question of this video is it worth buying in 2021? Like I just said, yes, but then you have to follow the information that I gave about if the other ones in the industry now, with the RX 6600 XT, the RTX 3060, are items that you want to get in place of the 1060 3 or 6GB. The reason for that is very, very simple. The 1060 is 5 years old, and that's a very old graphic card, and you don't even know how long it's going to last from this point on. Whether you find it new, if you're very lucky, you'll most likely, no matter what website you go to, you'll find it used, because it's so old. But it still does the job as you would really want it to. I wouldn't have any issues with it currently, because none of the graphic cards that came out have been worth it to me to upgrade to for the inflated prices that they're set at right now. And that is just ridiculous. And news reports are saying that those prices aren't even going to change for another 6 months. So into 2022, you're going to be paying $500 or $600 more for the $300 RTX series, 3060, because the 3060, when that came out, it was originally for, I believe, $329 or $379. And it was selling at $600 to $800 on some websites and up to $1,000 for a like intro to RTX type of graphic card, which is ridiculous. But other than that, guys, that's all that's going to be for this week's video. I really appreciate you watching. If you enjoyed the video, please like below, comment, and subscribe to the channel, as there is going to be more content coming. And I really appreciate you taking the time to comment, like, and subscribe, and also check out my Facebook page for Apocalypto Media. I would really appreciate that as well. And until the next one, have a great day.